With the president still talking about the Jeffrey Epstein case, the Justice Department is busy trying to keep his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, from successfully appealing her conviction on sex offenses involving minors. In a brief filed with the Supreme Court yesterday, the DOJ argued that her claim that Epstein's 2007 plea deal should have also covered her is both incorrect and unlikely to succeed in, quote, any appeals court. For more on her actual role up to this point, here's CNN's Randy Kay.
Maxwell was among Epstein's closest associates and helped him exploit girls who were as young as 14 years old.
Ghislaine Maxwell, a friend and former lover of Jeffrey Epstein's. She dated the accused sex trafficker in the 1990s, and the two remained close. Federal investigators accused Maxwell of serving as Epstein's madam, recruiting young girls for Epstein to abuse, and taking part in the abuse herself.
She pretended to be a woman they could trust. All the while, she was setting them up to be sexually abused by Epstein, and in some cases, by Maxwell herself.
Long before that, Maxwell had a privileged life in the English countryside where she grew up. She's the daughter of Czech-born newspaper tycoon Robert Maxwell, who died in 1991 after falling off his luxury yacht near the Canary Islands. Multiple people say Maxwell introduced Epstein to affluent social circles. Maxwell's own exclusive circle included then-future President Donald Trump, seen together here in this photo from 2000. Alongside him, Melania, who he was dating at the time, and Jeffrey Epstein. That's Maxwell in the background of this photograph of Prince Andrew, with Virginia Roberts, who later became Virginia Giuffre. She had alleged she was trafficked by Epstein with the help of Maxwell and forced to have sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17. The prince emphatically denied all of it and settled Giuffre's lawsuit against him for an undisclosed amount. Giuffre died earlier this year by suicide.
Breaking news just into CNN. Longtime Jeffrey Epstein confidant and friend Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested.
In July of 2020, the year after Epstein took his life in jail, Maxwell was arrested in New Hampshire. She was charged with 6 federal counts, including 1 count of sex trafficking children. She pleaded not guilty, yet at her 2021 trial, 4 women alleged that Epstein sexually abused them and that Maxwell not only helped facilitate, but also participated in some of the abuse between 1994 and 2004. The women were under 18 at the time. Maxwell was found guilty of 5 of the 6 charges against her, including the most serious charge of sex trafficking a girl named Carolyn when she said she was just 14 years old. Carolyn had told the court she participated in sexualized massages with Epstein and recruited other young girls for him. Carolyn recalled how Maxwell groped her naked body, telling her she had a great body for Epstein and his friends. In court, the defense tried to portray Maxwell as a scapegoat.
Clever and cunning to the end, Jeffrey Epstein left Ghislaine Maxwell holding the whole bag.
Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison, but appealed her sex trafficking conviction. For now, Maxwell will continue serving time here in Florida. She's behind bars at FCI Tallahassee, a low-security federal correctional institution with a detention center. Her scheduled release date, July 17, 2037. Randy Kay, CNN, Palm Beach County, Florida.
Well, for more on how all this is being viewed inside the Department of Justice and the FBI, I'm joined by CNN senior law enforcement analyst and former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. What do you make of the Justice Department's argument to the Supreme Court for why they shouldn't take up Maxwell's appeal? Because at the core of Maxwell's petition, she's arguing that the government's non-prosecution agreement with Epstein as part of his 2007 plea deal also applies to her.
Sure, Anderson. So the government's position is it relies on a bit of a technicality here. The actual language from the non-pros agreement signed in 2008 by Jeffrey Epstein basically says if Epstein successfully fulfills all the terms and conditions of the agreement, the United States, now note, not specifically, doesn't say just the Southern District of Florida or the entirety of the United States, also agrees that it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein, including but not limited to 4 of Epstein's assistants. So she is claiming that she comes within the protection of that clause. the Department of Justice saying, no, we had an internal policy at the time that said if a specific district gives you a non-pros agreement, it applies only in that district, which means the Southern District that came through in 2019 or 2020 indicting Epstein and Maxwell was not bound by this exclusive agreement.
What do you, the situation between Bongino and Pam Bondi, have you ever seen anything like it, and is that tenable?
No, absolutely not tenable. I've never seen anything like this. The idea that a deputy director of the FBI would confront the attorney general in the White House in front of other people and they'd get involved in some sort of a shouting match, making accusations about each other. I can't even imagine that ever happening. And if it did happen, I'm shocked that the attorney general hasn't already removed him from his position. It's a level of disrespect and disarray among the leadership of those two agencies that's really just a terrible thing, terrible example for the workforce.
It sounds like there's a lot more there are a lot more files that could be released if the government wanted to. Do you think that's likely to happen?
I think it's unlikely to happen. I think there's probably a lot of information in there that they really cannot release because it's protected by grand jury secrecy rules or maybe Privacy Act concerns, or maybe it's confidential witness testimony that witnesses requested protection from. So there are probably a lot of legitimate reasons why some of this information they can't release, not the least of which is that just releasing the names of people who happen to be in Jeffrey Epstein's phone book without any indication that they were involved in some sort of criminal activity would be pretty defamatory and destructive to those people's reputation. So there's a lot of legitimate limits on what they can release. And at this point, whatever they put out is never going to satisfy the conspiracy crowd.
Andrew McCabe, thanks very much.
It's not that hard, and we will do so in a little while, to find recent tape of the now FBI director, the now deputy FBI director, the now attorney general that he put in place, promising that when they get into office, they will find out the truth about Jeffrey Epstein. And now he is using the power that he hopes he still has to say nothing to see here, that it's a hoax, that it's all the Democrats. He has been successful in trying to do that in the past and say, don't look here, look over here to members of his base. But so far, he has not been successful on this issue. Kristen?
Yeah, Dan, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Just because President Trump himself wasn't the biggest proponent or perpetuator of these Epstein conspiracy theories, he did put three of the most vocal people who had said that they wanted to release this list into top jobs within his administration. Of course, being Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Now you see him completely backing away from this and also really doing it with a slap in the face to some of his most ardent supporters, people who have been waiting for the release of this list. I just want to read you what he posted this morning, because this is what really set it off. You can see how much angrier he's getting by the minute over this Epstein coverage. He said, "My past supporters have bought into this, quote, bullshit, hit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Okay, a couple of things to note here. This isn't just some fringe part of his base. There is a huge part of his base that believes that there are Epstein files that need to be released. We saw that when Charlie Kirk held his seminar over the weekend in Florida, and there were thousands upon thousands of people there cheering to release the files, cheering for Dan Bongino. You are seeing a real break here in the MAGA movement. Now, the question is, as you said, do they fall in line eventually? And we just simply don't know the answer to that right now. But I just want to read you a couple of the things he said in that meeting, because some of these are just so deeply insulting to the people who put him in office. He said at one point that foolish Republicans have fallen into the net of this Democratic, as he called it, Epstein hoax. He said at one point, "I have lost a lot of faith in certain people who he said had pushed the Epstein, quote, hoax." This is what he's calling it. He said Republicans got duped by Democrats. At one point he said stupid Republicans and stupid people are focused on this. He also noted that if there was anything credible left to release, that the Attorney General should release it, any kind of documents, and he praised Pam Bondi's handling of all of this. But if you listen to those words there, and you go back and you watch the tape of who exactly it was who was helping propel this messaging around Epstein, those are the people who got him elected, Dana. Those are the people who were out there every day on their podcasts, on various different shows, reaching out to parts of the country that were usually untapped for voters.
Yep.
Those are those people. And they reached those people and they got them out to the polls, and they had an unprecedented win with certain voting blocks. And now you hear President Trump saying that these are stupid people who were duped, and that is clearly not going to sit well, despite where this ends, because obviously we can't, again, predict where this goes. But that is not the message that these people who helped him get elected want to hear.
He's telling off his own supporters, just to put it bluntly. That is what he is doing.